Please stand for the Sandoran National Anthem.
Dorra is bordered by Babakalia in the north, Surabaya in the east, and the Alganilian Sea in the southwest. Its closest southern neighbor is Naturia, about 1,000 nautical miles off the coast. Geographically, Dorra is characterized by a desert in the north and a dense forest in the east. The valleys in the middle of the country are fertile and produce most of the country's agricultural products. The main export is pineapples and mangoes, which contain a distinct flavor due to the special soil that dominates the fertile Al-Luni Valley. This favor makes the Sandoran mangoes and pineapples highly prized and a high export commodity. Most major cities, as well as the capital Andaras, are located on the southern peninsula. The population of Dorra is 43 million. The main cities in the fertile valleys are home to 37 million people, including 15 in the capital. Zelchi, at the entrance to the Sandoran Desert, is home to 1 million inhabitants. The forest cities of Zelinska and Urubara are home to 3.5 and 1.5 million people. The country is ethnically diverse, with 7 main groups. The 2 largest ethnic groups are the Abalos and Taputis, which comprise approximately 92% of the population. Abalos are concentrated in the western and central parts of Lower Dorra. Taputis mainly live in the remote areas around the Sandoran Forest and Albararia Mountains, though many still occupy central areas around Ratantine. The north is mainly populated by nomadic tribes. Although the country itself is a secular state, 3 main religions among the population are Islam, Christianity, and pagan beliefs. The first recorded inhabitants came from Eastern Africa, around 8000 BC. Although oral history of nomadic tribes reaches back much longer than that. The area existed as a loose collection of city-states, until around the 2nd century, when it was partially conquered by the Romans, who named the country Dorra, which means where the land cuts the sea. Their influence can still be seen in names of islands on the southern coast. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Dorra thrived as a merchant port, as well as a pirate haven, famous for Sophia Andaras, also known as the Red Queen. In the 10th century, Dorra was conquered by the armies of Al-Bundin, who took advantage of its ports as supply routes for his army and brought Islam to the area. Dorra thrived as a commerce center until a great famine struck the area in 1240, causing a mass exodus to the lands to the north of the desert, where the country of Babakalia was established. To this day, this exodus is remembered as a great treachery by those who stayed in Dorra, who perceive Babakalians as dishonorable people. Almost abandoned, Dorra was colonized by northern Viking tribes from Iceland, Norway, and Denmark in the 14th century. The country's sea trade experienced a resurgence. Viking descendants became known as Tapatis, initially a derogatory term used by the local population, but now widely used by their descendants themselves. In the 16th century, Tapati High King, Eleusis Ardulus, shocked the country by converting to Christianism. This created a wave of conflicts between new Christians and pagan Viking descendants, as well as parts of the Muslim and pagan population. Christian influence can still be seen in the renaming of the country from Dorra to Sandoran, and in the lower part of the country, where many areas and cities have Christian names. Thus began a period of internal conflict between Tapatis and Abaloans, that lasted until the mid-20th century, when the rivalry was temporarily put aside during a 10-year conflict between Dorra and Babakalia, known as the Sister War, since Babakalians are direct descendants of Sandorans. With significant help from the international community and the newly formed United Nations, the war ended, and the Sandoran Desert is now used as a natural barrier between the 2 countries. Internal conflict resumed until 1974, when the Tapatian dynasty suddenly ended with the unexpected death of the last Sandoran king, Sebastian Ardulus. His nephew, Heinrich Ardulus, fled the country and self-exiled in Monaco. Heinrich Ardulis has since captivated the European social media by his relentless criticism of the Abeloan government and his insistence in ending every speech with the words,
Tura. Tura. Sandora re prati nostri.
which in ancient Tapati means, Fatherland Sandora, one day, you shall be ours again. The country fell into civil war until 1995, when Abeloans managed to form a coalition and gain the majority in the Congress. In a grand political gesture, the Abeloans moved the country capital from Arduli to Andaras. The move from their ancestral home was seen as the last straw by an already marginalized Tapatian population, who began moving in great numbers to the forest cities of Zelinska and Urubra, where many joined the newly formed Tapatian Liberation Front, TLF, with the goal of returning to power. The elections were stirred by rumors of a possible return of Heinrich Ardulis to the country. Currently, about 61% of the population live below the poverty line, with 19% living in extremely marginalized rural areas, with very limited access to social services. Rattantine, though located in the fertile Auluni Valley, is economically dominated by Arduli, the former capital. Arduli enjoys major economic benefits for being the only conduit for agricultural exports from Auluni Valley to other countries, beyond the desert. There's also a lot of illicit income, the exact amount of which is unknown, from the illegal farming of opioids in the eastern forests. At the same time, Sandora has two modern cities. Latitad, the technological hub, and Ortagath, where most of other industries are located. Due to its low cost of living and young population, including graduates from the local university, Latitad has attracted some tech startups and begun to make a name for itself as a regional tech and innovation hub. In 2020, the country went through a tumultuous election with civil unrest. The international community-funded election monitors in 2021 and the UN supported the political transition, although that was not welcomed by all. Tapatis failed in their bid to assume positions of power within the governing structures, and the political transition effectively stalled. The situation has not significantly changed since then. In the past few months, the governing party, dominated by Abelos, has refused to abide by the Tapatian request for a new election, triggering active fighting between National Armed Forces and the Tapatian Liberation Front, TLF, the armed branch of the political party representing the Tapatian people, especially in the vicinities of the city of Rattantine, where there's a slight Tapatian majority. This fighting is also beginning to show first effects in the industrial and technological centers, with several major companies pulling their headquarters out of Latitad. This could lead to the further worsening of the economic situation in the country.